Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adi and today we have episode 2 of the Malamar games. Now if you missed episode 1, essentially this is a tournament where every single week we have a new zany format that we got a build a brand new team for, and generally speaking it is going to be a lot of fun. So last week we played against Poke Sports Pod using no Pokemon in the top 100. This week, we are playing against Sierra Dawn, the well-known commentator for the Pokemon Company, using a format called Last Letter, First Letter. Essentially, and you can see here, the rule is that the letter a Pokemon names with, the next one must start with. So, the first Pokemon is King Gambit, then the second Pokemon has to start with a T, right? And then the second Pokemon is Tyranitar, and the third Pokemon has to start with an R. And then, so of course, you do get a freebie on the first letter and the last letter, but other than that, it all has to be a chain. So, me being me, I ended up building a program that would, or just a quick Excel document that would narrow it down for me. And so, I'll give you the quick recap of what I think are the notable metagame differences between this and Series 2, because you can build a lot of really good teams. The first is that, and this is the main thing that I'm trying to capitalize on, is that these three Pokemon, Annihilate, Armarouge, and Arcanine, all start with A and end with E. And this is a really difficult combination to fit on a team, just because on top of that, there are a lot of Pokemon that end with the letter E, and a lot of them are really, really good. I mean, you can see Dragonite is on that list, Indeedee is on that list, Fluttermane, Iron Bundle. There's a lot of really strong Pokemon that all end with the letter E, and you're not going to be able to use them. Or you are, but here's the thing. The list of Pokemon that start with the letter E is pretty bad. The only good one is a Spartha, really. I mean, Electrode saw some success at one regional. Electros is a Pokemon that you could bring, but really there is just like a Spartha as far as like viable Pokemon on this list. And so it's going to be really hard to fit some of those really powerful Pokemon that end with the letter E. And so things like Indeedee, Armarouge are both on this list, right? Indeedee starts with I. And Iron Bundle too. And so you're not going to be able to use, or like Iron Bundle Fluttermane is another combination. So you're not going to be able to use some of these really powerful combinations. And so as a result, I kind of narrowed down to 3 teams that I really expect to see in this format. The first is, I think that Dindozo Tatsugiri is going to be really good. And that's because there aren't a ton of Pokemon that end with the letter I, right? It's mainly Tatsugiri. Klefki is also pretty viable. Grafea, maybe not. But there's a lot of really good Pokemon that start with the letter I, namely all of the Paradox Pokemon, and as well as Indeedee. So you have a lot of options if you manage to put Tatsugiri on your team as the best Pokemon that ends with the letter I, and then Dindozo is pretty easy to fit because Mousehold ends with the letter D, and so that's a pretty easy Pokemon to fit on most teams. So I think that as a result, Tatsugiri Dindozo is going to be very common. It enables a lot of really powerful strategies. The second Pokemon that I think is going to be really team that's going to be really common is a Spartha Sandy Shocks, because like I said, there are not a ton of Pokemon that end with the letter or start with the letter E. There's a lot of them that end with the letter E, and so putting in a Spartha on your team, you naturally want to put a Sandy Shocks on your team, and that's not hard to fit because there are a lot of Pokemon that end with the letter S, and there's a lot of Pokemon that start with the letter S too, and so it's pretty easy to fit Spartha Sandy Shocks team together, given the number of Pokemon that you are now allowed to use, given that they end with the letter E. Finally, I think the third team that's going to be really potentially common, or we're only playing one game, but like that I think could see play is Torkoal Lilligant, which have the convenient combination where Torkoal starts with the letter T and ends with the letter L, and Lilligant starts with the letter L and ends with the letter T. I think I said that right. And so as a result, you can put them in either order. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in team building. And so naturally, that is the team that I'm running. I am running this team, which, if it looks familiar to you, it should. This is basically the team that won Vancouver Regionals. I have a team report on the channel from Nails, who got top 4 at Knoxville Regionals with this team, with one notable exception, which is that the Dragonite does not fit this naming scheme. Tinkatuff is there instead, because it's the only Pokemon that starts with T and ends with F, I think. Yeah, just Tinkatuff. So as a result, we have a Tinkatuff on the team, filling in for the Dragonite. That's okay if you watch Nails' team report, which you really should. Sampro just won a regional by watching his team report, so you should. It kind of explains how the team works, and essentially Dragonite was the 6th Mon. It was kind of a filler slot, and so it naturally is the Pokemon that drops off the team, especially since The Dragonite slot 1 dealt with Psy Spam, which I don't think is going to exist because Psy Spam is really hard to fit on a team again because they both end with E. It deals with Great Tusk, which is a little easier to put on a team, and so that one might be a little spooky. And then it ends with Dragonite is also there for opposing Dragonite and Pokemon like that. And Dragonite's also going to be a little less common because again, you kind of are limited to putting a Spartha or putting it at the very end of your team. So as a result, it's okay to drop the Dragonite on that team in this format, and kind of put a Pokemon we don't really plan on bringing. We'll see if we can bring it, but I don't know. The other change that I made, the Great Tusk is now Steel instead of Ground, which is a change that Sempra made to help with the Tyranitar matchup. And I think his team report is coming out soon, so looking forward to that. And then Kingambit is now Flying instead of Fire, and the reason for that is simply because I no longer have my Great Tusk matchup, and so putting the Kingambit there is going to be a little better. And then on top of that, Arcanine usage is going to be lower because, again, starts with A, ends with E. And so, as a result, I don't need to be Terra Fire to resist Will-O-Wisp and to resist Arcanine's attacks. It's more acceptable for me to be Terra Flying and try to call out that Sierra will not be using Arcanine. And so, that is the team that I'm using. I'm going to play Sierra any second now, and so I'm going to see you there. Okay, we are here. One thing I neglected to mention, for two things I neglected to mention. The first is that this is Open Terra. It is closed team sheet. But, so I actually have Sierra's Pokemon in front of me. But also, notably, this is the team that, of course, won Vancouver that Sierra commentated. She commentated that regional. So she's definitely going to recognize this team. It is a team that she had to get very familiar with over the course of, I think, last weekend. So that should be, I mean, this is, I see her team sheet, and this is not, I don't know if there's anything going to be too surprising, but it is a Sparta Shocks, like kind of expected, and that enables her to run Flutter Mane. And so we see the Flutter Mane is Fairy, Sparta is Steel, Amoonguss is Dark, Shocks is Grass, Scizor is Fire, and Roaring Moon is also Steel. So notably, 0 fire or 1 fire resist in the Roaring Moon, and 1 Terra that can become a fire resist in the Scizor. And so, and notably, I think that there is unlikely to be a Goggles, and so I think we just get to go Lilycole here pretty safely. It's going to be really hard for her to deal with that. I think the Kingambit deals with a lot of her counterplay. I think that, so notably, a Sparta is normally Focus Sash, and so it just gets out, Shocks gets outsped even if it's booster energy, and kind of goes down. And then I almost want to bring Flutter Mane, but I'm hesitant to, even though it is, even though my Flutter, it's Terra Fairy, so I don't even get to do it in front of Scizor. So maybe it's Great Tusk's Choice Scarf. Great Tusk is pretty good into opposing Flutter Mane. It's pretty good into everything that's not Roaring Moon. This is where like the Dragonite is a little helpful, but I think it's going to be Great Tusk, and I think I'm just going to kind of power through. Yeah, I just think that this is like, it's going to be really hard for her to, especially with Terra Fairy Flutter Mane, to survive. I need to run calcs. I'm not really familiar with this with my team as much. So like I do need to Terra to KO Flutter Mane, for example, Terra Fire. But let's see. So we do see the Sparta Shocks lead, which is kind of the lead that I was hoping to see, because it does just give me free reign to do the, okay, I didn't actually explain the Lilligant combo, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I do need to like calc everything because I really don't know. Okay, Eruption does in fact KO, and then I think a Sparta probably goes down to, yeah, Sparta Turbo dies, and so we do just get to click after you and Eruption, and there is very, very little that that Sierra can do here. She is again presumably Sash on the Esparta, which does give her the ability to take 1 attack, but like that's not doing much. Notably, again, we do just outspeed, and unless it's Sash, which normally these are booster energy Sandy Shocks, then it's kind of just going down. Now, again, we didn't see the booster energy because we are giving it Sun, so its photosynthesis activates naturally. That's actually very funny against Roaring Moon, because then it can't click Acrobatics. Because it can't click Acrobatics because it can, but it doesn't get the booster energy. But I'm realizing now that doesn't make sense because there's a Sandy Shocks on the team, so that must have the booster energy. So it doesn't. We don't actually know what the Roaring Moon set is. Maybe we're gonna see it right now. Honestly, that might be a reasonable thing to happen. Could totally see like a Flutter Mane coming in here because I do need to Terra to KO the Flutter Mane. But no, we're gonna see Scizor. And so I can. Scizor is Terra Fire, so it's probably going to tank and attack. I can Calc it again. In fact, I'm going to Calc it. The Eruption is doing about 50. So I want to probably just raw click a fire move here, like Flamethrower into. I can double the Esparta just to get rid of it, or I can After You Eruption again and just say I'm doing 52. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna After You Eruption. Like I might lose a Pokemon, but like whatever. It's not a big deal. There's a Protect coming out from Scizor, so I suspect that this is like either a Hypnosis or a Lumina Crash. The second speed boost will make the Esparta faster than my Lilligant, but that's okay because I don't think that she can KO both Pokemon next turn. And we actually see that it's not Focus Sash, like I think it was really common. So I think this game might be over. Like just a little bit. Got to do exactly what this team does, which is to click the super effective moves. Yeah, so there's the attack boost coming out. I am going to Sleep Powder the Roaring Moon. And then because if the Scizor turns into a fire type, it becomes pretty easy to deal with, I think. I have moves that can click, and then I'm going to Eruption. And if I miss the Sleep Powder and I take 60 from a Throat Chop or whatever, maybe even 70, like so be it. That's okay. Like obviously this is a Rested Terra. I think the Scizor was supposed to Terra last turn to because it has to do it anyways, and that way it takes an attack, but maybe she was scared of a Sleep Powder coming out. That is the scary part about Lilycole, right? Is that it just has so many options. And so it also wouldn't surprise me if this Roaring Moon... Actually, no. The Roaring Moon isn't Booster Energy, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was Assault Vest or Clear Amulet, I guess, are the two main sets that I would expect to see, right? So, but yeah, we do see the Terra Fire come out from the Scizor. There's a Bullet Punch going into the Torkoal. That's going to do like 3. Yeah, so Eruption's basically still full power now. It's still going to be doing about 50 to the Scizor, and we do, in fact, hit the Sleep Powder, so... not Safety Goggles, maybe Lumberry would be annoying. No, not Lumberry. I think that if you have a Lumberry, you probably just lead it. And so this is doing 50. It's doing a little under 50, but that's okay. The Scizor now being a fire type means it loses to Earth Power. And I don't really want to switch out, but I could very safely switch out here. I can, yeah, let's be a little proactive about it. There's no reason to, actually, now that I think about it. Let's click Leaf Storm. Let's click Leaf Storm, and let's click Earth Power. I don't think the Scizor has a way to KO the, yeah, that's not surprising. It was a chance it was, again, Assault Vest, and so it did a little less damage than I kind of expected it to. But I'm not super worried about it because I always have the After You Earth Power line available to me, unless they target the Lilligant right here, which they didn't, and that is not Bullet Punch range, so that's fine. Earth Power should KO from here. Bullet Punch isn't KOing, and so I get the After You off, and I have a Focus Sash on the Torkoal, so it's fine. Double Protect gets a little annoying, but I do still have my last turn of Sun, I believe, right now. And then I get the Roaring Moon in, which is Scarf, and should outspeed this Great Tusk, and not this Great Tusk, the Roaring Moon, and KO it. The Great Tusk should KO the Roaring Moon, and the Scizor needs to have Terra Blast to have a chance to get through my King Gambit. Not that it matters, because of course it did go down. That it is so funny. The sun, like, you can see the sun go up like over the horizon when a Pokemon that has Terra goes down. It's actually quite funny. Okay, so now we get to the point where I don't want to reveal items, and that's pretty important. So I'm not going to reveal Great Tusk, and instead I'm going to go King Gambit here, just because I really don't want to show that I am Choice Scarf, right? That's something that is worth revealing, or not revealing. I'm going to protect here because I don't want to reveal my my focus sash in case that's relevant. And then I'm just going to go for my Iron Head, which should pick up. So that's the fun part that I really miss this about closed team sheet, is that there is this element of conserving information, and obviously it's a lot easier to do when you are winning by as much as I am this game. But it is notable that I am Focus Sash Lilligant, right? Like that does change the way that you play. It's something that you assume, but it's something that you also have to consider that I might not be. I guess similarly, it's like this Choice Scarf on Grey Tusk is really relevant. Again, I don't think it really matters because this is the team that she's seen. She saw an entire weekend of Sempra just stomping people with it. But you know, it's still something to consider. And so I guess let's figure out what she can do game 2. So I think that if you're doing something, you have to like lead the you probably want to lead the Scizor here. The Roaring Moon is also a good lead. If you told me she was leading both of those, I would not be surprised, but also at the same time, still not a bad spot to be in. I can also lead like Torkoal Great Tusk and kind of force out a Terra maybe. But I think I just want to go Lilycole again and say, show me what you got. You know, I just get the Sleep Powder for free. I get my Great Tusk in the mid game, and that kind of goes through. Maybe if she like really counter leads it, and I think she kind of has to really counter lead it, then maybe I have to go Great Tusk. I might actually, no, I'm going to go Great Tusk lead. I think that she's going to respect this team enough that I am allowed to go Great Tusk lead, and then I'm also going to lead Torkoal to force the Terra on the Scizor, which then of course puts it in, makes it threatened by my my Pokemon. I kind of want to bring Fluttermane. Fluttermane's kind of bad. All right, I'm going to bring Kingambit, and then Fluttermane is so good except for when it's bad, so I'm going to bring Lilligant so I can pivot into it if I need to. Might be a mistake, but we'll find out. You know, I'm not super familiar with this team. Not a team that I've actually played any games with. Yeah. So I don't know all the lines as well as I probably should. Which is, you know, maybe not great going into Charlotte Regionals, where I think this is going to be one of the most common teams. It's one of the easiest teams to pick up and play in theory. But in practice, you do need to know your calcs, and knowing whether your Torkoal KOs things or not is really important. I have a damage calc in front of me. You will not have that at a regional, but yeah, okay. So exactly what I thought, and so I did kind of counter lead her this game. There is something to be said about her protecting Scizor. I haven't seen Protect coming out of the this Roaring Moon, I think. Yeah, because it was it went to sleep right away, and so I think it really is Assault Vest, and that's going to mean that I get to close combat it for free, I think, and then I'm going to just click Eruption. Honestly, I think that if the thing Terras, then I get to KO it, and if the Scizor Terras, then this is the best amount of damage I can do, and that looks like it's just going down unless it's Focus Sash. Because that is a not plus one, but Photosynthesis boosted close combat. And she really should know his Choice Scarf because she did see Sempra's team sheet. So maybe thought that I was going to try to pin the Scizor with a Fire move plus a Headlong Rush into it. That would be pretty reasonable. But I was pretty confident the Scizor was going to Protect or Terra. I think those were the two options really. And so now we see the Sparta, which obviously does have like Lumina Crash, which is going to be a little more annoying, because I can't close combat it very effectively, and if it gets too fast, it gets annoying. But I do have a Kingambit. Actually, I've got the line. She is going to. Oh right, yes, that's how that works. That was a long animation. I'm going to close combat the Scizor because it's either going to Terra or switch out, and I'm going to go to Kingambit because Kingambit really, really punishes the Lumina Crash into Torkoal, and I think that's her line. It actually doesn't because it's a psychic type move and I just am immune to it and I don't get the -2 spit def, but it would have been very funny if I called it out and got the +2 attack. So here's the Terra, which is presumably coming out of the Scizor. So I think the Esparta probably going to... Actually, that's no reason to protect. It outspeeds the Torkoal. But this close combat is going to do a ton, and I don't think that it has Terra Blast here. So it's going to... Yeah, okay. So just eating the close combat and not eating it especially well, to be honest. So now it's in Sucker Punch range, too. It might be faster than the King Gambit, so I don't really want to Sucker Punch it. Here's the Lumina Crash, so I did kind of read that like a book. And then there's a Terra Blast, which is actually a little spooky, presumably into the Great Tusk. Yeah, so that is probably putting it... Oh, it just KOs it. All right, then. Okay, no big deal, because that still leaves me with a whole Lilligant. Actually, okay. So now we get to the interesting part, because she could Hypnosis. I want to... Eruption KOs the Esparta unless it targets it. The Esparta could Protect. How many turns has it been? It's been one turn when I clicked Eruption. This is turn 2, so I've got a lot of turns of Sun left. So Lilligant maybe not the best choice right now. I could go for After You this turn. Yeah, okay, let's go Lilligant. I think the Esparta is hard walled. I think King Gambit gets turns, and I think that I get to, if she knows that I'm faster, so she knows that I can After You and hit the Sparta. So I think what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to hit this Scizor. Or I can sleep out of the Esparta. That's also on the table. Yeah, okay, called it out. There's a double protect. That's fine. So now the Esparta is faster than the Lilligant, which is potentially very annoying. And it would not shock me to see like a Bullet Punch come out, plus a Lumina Crash, which will pick up the Lilligant pretty easily. So now what I want to do is I want to focus down the Esparta, because I don't think that, other than Terra Blast, they have a good way to hit this King Gambit, and honestly King Gambit might just live a Terra Blast, and also that makes it susceptible to the After You lines. Not super susceptible enough. So I'm going to Sleep Powder because I don't think I actually need this anymore. And then I'm going to Kowtow the Esparta, which should pick it up. And unless she doubles the Lilligant, it was going down. Yeah, okay. That's fine, because now the Torkoal does single-handedly beat the Scizor, and allows me to kind of focus on winning. And also, like, it removes the variant from Hypnosis, which was one of the ways that she was going to escape the situation. So I think I have one turn of Sun left, which is actually, like, a good thing for me, because it means that I don't immediately lose to Terra Blast, because Terra Blast would get very annoying. This is what I think is the Sandy Shocks. Yep. So Torkoal in a little bit of a precarious position here. I'm going to Terra Flying. I'm going to protect the Torkoal, because I don't want to die to an Earth Power. And I'm going to Terra Flying, and she has to kind of call me out here. Actually, I want to Sucker Punch. I want to Sucker Punch the Scizor because there's only two things it can do, and one of them is... Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to Flamethrower this guy, and if I go down, I go down. And I'm going to Sucker Punch the Scizor. This might be throwing. What? Okay, that's fine. So maybe scouting out a Terra. That's like pretty reasonable. And scouting out a Protect, maybe. I do have an Assault Vest, so I do take like no damage. There's the Photosynthesis. So yeah, there's the booster energy. This is a little awkward because I think the Torkoal goes down to Sandy Shocks. I'm actually going to count that real quick. I should have left it earlier. Earth Power, yeah, it just murders. And there's no way for me to really escape that. So I either have to protect it or I have to sack it. And if I sack it, then I have to put myself in a position where I can win the game. Which means I have to protect here. And then I think I want to Sucker Punch on the Terra Blast and not commit my Terra here. So no protect. It could be a Bullet Punch. I'd also have to be slower. Swords Dance. Has to be Swords Dance. There's the Earth Power coming into the Torkoal, so did get called out just a little bit. Okay. All right. Here's what we're going for. We're going for a double protect here. And then we are going to have to live this Terra Blast somehow. And so I think we're going to... Surely Sandy Shocks does not go down to a King Gambit Sucker Punch. It does not. It goes down to 2 Kotaus. Oh, that's rough. But I think that this is where I might protect. Maybe I was supposed to say I have to call this turn right, and it doesn't matter. But this is our protected. Okay. Get the double. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're still in this. Yep. Yep. That was really big. That is range for another one, right? That's what's important. Because now what I get to do is I get to... All right, how fast is my... King Gambit is base 50 speed. What is Scissor's speed stat? 65, so it should outspeed with Bullet Punch. So here's what I get to do. I get to Earth Power... I get to Eruption. And I get to Kotao again. Yeah, so that goes down. So this is where Terraing was really bad. But also I would have died to the +2 Terra Fire, Terra Blast. Oh, wait, why? So this should KO. Yup. All right. So now the question is, does this +4 Scizor KO 252 for King Gambit with Bullet Punch after it Terras? And the answer is no. The answer is no, it has to Terra Blast. So this is a 50-50. And I think she's going to Bullet Punch. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. This is why you run calcs while you're playing. Like that was a fair, it was a 50-50, right? Because if she goes for Terra Blast, she does KO. Because it's base essentially like 20% more damage, I think 25% more damage. But if I went for Sucker Punch, then obviously that would move before. And so I think Bullet Punch was like, it was just a coin toss there. And I called it right. But I also got the double protect, so I did get very lucky game 2. You play to your outs, right? Like, that's kind of what you have to do. I probably could have realized I was in a worse position than I was and clicked Sleep Powder, or so click Protect with Lilligant because I knew she was going to double target it, or at least I had the read that she was going to double target it. But I ended up deciding that the punish of her targeting the, what was it? King Gambit, I think, was on the field. I forget. But yeah, no, I think that play was really bad and put me in a position where I had to get the double protect, essentially. I think I also called another turn right. Yeah, the turn where she Swords Danced. I could have, if I called that one right, then I would have been in a fine position. So I got a couple turns wrong and got bailed out by the double protect. But we take those. So that was week 2 of the Malamar games. I think my team was sick. Obviously, shout out to Nick for building the team originally and bringing it to my attention that it fit these restrictions. Shout out to Sierra. She's also on YouTube. I'll link her channel in the description. Make sure to go follow her. Of course, I think you might even see her this upcoming weekend at Charlotte Regionals. I'm not actually sure if she's casting Charlotte or not, but I'll be attending Charlotte Regionals. And so yeah. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, etc. And until next time, I will see you all later.